Hello, and on this video I have got an amazing freelance social media manager to talk to. I know that he's got loads of stuff to tell us about not just the skills of the job, but actually the realities of coping with some of the stresses of the job. So, hello Alex, tell us a little bit about your career and what you're up to.
Hi, Helen. It's really nice to meet you. So I am a freelance social media manager. I tend to focus on creating organic content. So I tend to create photos, videos, GIFs, write articles, do live videos. All of that I tend to do myself and to share on social media. Even though I'm pretty skilled with a range of different channels, my specialties are Instagram and TikTok. So I've
Great.
been doing a lot of research recently into Instagram Reels and TikTok and the like. I started as a volunteer in 2015 for a branch of Age UK before moving into higher education. And this year has been a very strange year. So I've ended up doing freelance, which is a really exciting opportunity.
It really is, and you'll love it. Excuse the cat's tail in my face. Really interesting that you started out as a volunteer as well, as a route to get into that job, because I don't think people realise a lot of the time you've got to show something. You've got to show that you can do the job, and then
Absolutely.
you can feel like, if I don't have the experience, how am I supposed to get the experience if they don't give me the experience? And you found a good way to do that.
Yeah, exactly. I've met a lot of people who said to me, "Oh, I would be good working on social media because I have about 10,000 followers on Twitter, and I have posts which have gone viral and all that." And in a way, that is really good. But at the same time, there's so many more skills that need to come into it. So, for example, are you good with customer service? Are you good at doing things like writing strategies? Do you know what to do with a crisis? So that's one of the reasons why I went into volunteering first off before going into paid work, because I wanted to get that experience of what it's like being in that company and getting those experiences that I never thought would be a part of social media management.
Oh yeah, and again, those people who are really good at social themselves for their own personal projects, I don't
Mm.
think they realize how much harder it is when you're working on something where it might not
Yeah.
be a passion, but even if you're really behind the cause, it might
Mm.
be you just don't know as much about it as the thing that you were promoting. So
Yeah.
that's an amazing route to go into the volunteer
Yeah.
thing. It's just a bit of a shame because it does mean that you have to kind of put yourself out there and not be paid for a while, or just do it out of like just do it in the burn in the midnight oil, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. For me, I volunteered shortly after finishing university. I know that I was struggling to find paid work, not even just in social media, but just any paid work in general. So it was something to keep me going, but it was also something that really built my skills and something that I liked. And I did that while also doing a social media course at the same time. So I balanced the two. Honestly, it was just about really trying to make the most out of the time I had and knowing how to balance everything and put everything into put everything into a reasonable amount of time, because I didn't want to spend 8 hours a day for 5 days a week doing volunteering. As much as I loved it, I
Yeah.
knew that I needed to get a bit of income in.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah. I'm sure lots of people will relate.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you a bit about your work and like some of the things to get a flavor of the kind of talents you've got and the things that
Yeah.
you specialize in. What are the pieces of work that you're really proud of, or the things that really stick out in your mind as an enjoyable thing to work on?
Yeah. So I absolutely love using Instagram. It's probably my favorite social media channel because I'm a very visual person. So I at my last job, I ran the Instagram account, and when I started, they had about 6,000 followers and probably getting about 40 likes per post. I ended up getting that to about 12,000 followers and about maybe uh, probably about 300 likes per post. And honestly, just seeing that growth was spectacular. And I remember in 2019, you can do like little your top 9 posts of the year. So I
Yes.
did that, and it was just nice seeing what ones had done so well. And I'd gotten a few that had gotten over 1,000 likes, and I was really excited.
Oh,
And then I found out that we'd gotten 69,000 likes throughout the year, which was amazing considering only a couple of years ago we probably wouldn't have even broken over 10,000.
yeah.
So I was just seeing that growth made me so happy.
That is fantastic. What do you think the elements of those really popular posts were? Like, what were you doing with those that made everyone just kind of go, no, this is it now, I need to engage with this brand?
I think it's either showing people what they want to see or showing something that they didn't know they wanted to see. So sometimes it's that kind of element of surprise, or, you know, it's that element of, oh my God, that's so creative and so imaginative. I would not have expected to have done that. But also I think it's just really, really good visuals, which really do help if you can make it really stylish. So one that I did was at Christmas, the local town centre has a clock tower, and they had loads of lights coming from it. So I did some really like angled photos of that, and everyone just loved it. And it was just, you know, you don't always have to plan it out either. You can just go out there and just do it and just give it a try and see what happens.
I love that when you're like, your creative instincts are just there. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a natural planner. Like, I like to think that I've got a strategy in my head, and I'm you know, thinking about my general goal, but I'm not a particular detailed planner. So I really love that when you kind of get an opportunity to just go, oh, this will be amazing, and it'll definitely help us.
Oh, yes, same. I've had times where I planned out content for weeks, and I put out and it'd be like 100 likes. And then it'd be something that, you know, I've walked past it and I'd take the photo. It's like, oh, 1,000 likes and 300 comments. I'm like, how has this happened?
Yeah.
But it's just when you get that moment of like, oh my God, this is going to work. This is going to be amazing. That's when you just feel it.
Yeah. I mean, that thing as well, that delight you get of creating it. I do think sometimes that the planning can really stifle some of the joy that's in the content, if you know what I mean. Like, if you're planning too far ahead, 3 months ahead or something, which I know a lot of social media trainers recommend, like, oh, can I put any real enjoyment into something that I've planned 3 months ahead? Do I know what the world will look like then? It's just, yeah, it's not fresh, is it?
No, absolutely. Especially this year, because we generally don't know how much is going to happen. Like when lockdown happened, I just had to go through our scheduled posts and just remove everything because nothing was relevant anymore. And this was stuff that I had planned a couple of weeks in advance. And at that point I realized actually it's not a good idea to do so much planning. I can have an idea of what I want to post, but for me, I'd rather just kind of, you know, put some more like spur of the moment stuff in there because it does feel more real. Like when you plan that out, sometimes I find that like my writing style just ends up really like stilted and like it feels too formal. But when I just get to do it, it's just informal. It's just really like of the moment, and I love that.
I love that. I love that you bring that to it, because I think the problem with most brand social media is it feels like marketing. It doesn't have that spontaneous, like, I just thought of this and I'm sharing it with my community vibe.
Absolutely. There's so many out there that they kind of feel like they're kind of just doing it really. Like they're just kind of, you know, we'll put a post up, that'll do for now. But then there's some that like, you can tell they genuinely love running social media, and that's just fantastic. You need to have that love. Yeah.
Yes. Now, we've talked about the great stuff, like the love of it and the passion and the creativity. And also the spontaneity, but sometimes doing the job, and this has come out in the survey that we've done of social media managers as well, you can have all of this amazing kind of creativity and actually strategy as well, but sometimes the organizations that we work for, or even the clients that we're working for, can hamper what we're trying to achieve. They can make life quite difficult. Do you think, or what do you think are the top kind of difficulties for social media managers? Like, is anything that you've experienced with your colleagues or anything you've experienced yourself where you kind of think this is a real problem that we're experiencing as a group of people?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues we face is that we get so much difficulty from both sides, really. When we're customer facing, you know, social media tends to bring out the worst in people at times. And you get people who are just really horrible. I've had people threaten to like kill me, threaten to maim me, send me homophobic comments just for doing my job. And, you know, it's difficult to deal with that, and difficult to deal with people really being very angry and very disrespectful and abusive at times as well. And then on the flip side, internally in the organization, you get people who don't quite understand how difficult the job is. You know, you get people who don't realize that actually you're sitting there at your PC every day and you're likely getting some sort of abuse. You're likely getting blamed for something that wasn't your fault. you're likely getting, like you put on content that, you really struggle to make work because you've gotten really weird requests. And I think it's kind of like everybody wants to be involved in social media, but nobody wants to understand the amount of work that needs to go into it. And that's the issue, is that it kind of gets seen as either a fun job or a bit of a pointless job. And, it's just difficult because you do need to show how important it is. And it's such a vital part of a company, and people within a company don't always grasp that.
No, I mean, that thing, isn't it, of either, you just do tweets and it's really glamorous, or will you put my PDF strategy onto all the channels, please? Whatever. Like, it gets you down. And like, I have a tendency to try and laugh it off. But actually, I think it's really stressful, especially in light of what you're talking about around that abuse that you get on the other side. Like, what do you think should be in place to help? Like, we know that it's not exactly personal, but it does feel personal, doesn't it? We are humans on the other end. Like, what we do to help ourselves, or what should be in place to make sure that we can cope with all of that stress from both sides?
For me, I think that a lot of companies that offer well-being services, I don't think they always understand the kind of scope of social media, really. I don't think they understand the impact it has on us. So if there's ways for kind of well-being, not just well-being services, but kind of like little things to help with the well-being, if they can be put into place within an organization that works for us, that'd be great. So it could be stuff like, making sure there's enough staff to be able to handle the comments, so that it's not just one person taking it all on, making sure that person who runs social media accounts getting plenty of time off, plenty of breaks to move away from that, make sure people understand the impact of online abuse. I really think stuff like that does go a long way. But I think ultimately it's just the understanding of what social media people go through. And I think that's always been the biggest barrier, is that people people see, when they look at a company's social media account, you see the kind of, the nice posts, you see the videos, the photos, you're like, oh, that's kind of fun, that's kind of nice. But then you don't see the people in your DMs screaming at you, saying that you ruined their life and stuff like that. And you don't see the impact that has on you. So just people taking the time to understand what it is we do would just go a long, long way.
It would, and that's kind of partially why we put this day on, really, Social Media Managers Day, to kind of start thinking about this, because like an extension of what you're talking about that I find with loads of the students we get in the academy is like imposter syndrome on steroids, because you might get into the job, and of course any person who's doing the job has got loads to learn. Like with social media, everything's changing every day, so you have the sense that I don't feel like an expert or whatever. But on top of that, you've got people telling you you're crap in both directions. Like you've got coming in from the public or whatever audience you serve. Yeah. And then you've got sometimes quite passive aggressive stuff within the organization. So it might be like, oh, well, I love your social media, but it's not very appropriate, is it? Or, or I don't like it. And you're like, well, you're not the audience, so you don't need to like it. But, like it feels like sometimes you're always battling. And if you've got imposter syndrome on top of that, it's quite hard to fight it. Sometimes you internalize all of that negativity. Yeah. And that's really difficult to handle.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, okay. So I'm going to give you as long as you've got, but if you had to narrow it down for tips for other social media managers, tips from the point of view of how do you get the best work done? Like any good hot tips on like how to do stuff well, and also how to handle the reality of the job. If you've got any thoughts on that, we would love to hear it. And when I say we, I mean me and Gabby.
She's popping up every so often just to see what's going on. She's I think the first thing that I would say, in terms of getting work done and in terms of kind of dealing with the realities of it, is to make sure you have that downtime. You don't want to constantly be in the space of, I'm doing social media work. I know that quite a few social media managers tend to take the work home with them, even if they're not logged into the account, thinking, right, this is what I need to do tomorrow. This is I'm going to plan this out. I'm going to get this done, get that done. There's always the worry that, you know, if you're not doing work, you're missing out on something big on social media. So, for instance, when people send you a message at like 11 p.m. and you're like, oh God, should I respond to that quite quick? It's not. Make sure you've got your time to do anything you want to do, whether it's, you know, go for a walk, do some exercise, watch telly, take up a hobby like painting or knitting or anything like that. Just something that takes you away from social media, just something that really to put you aside. For me, that tends to be video games, because I like to do something that uses as many of my senses as possible. So that's my vision, my hearing, and my hands. Kind of takes me out of it, really. Yeah. I'd also say, I'm a terrible planner. I struggle to stick to a schedule. But I know for a lot of people, it does help to kind of have that schedule being like, right, I've got these 2 hours where I'm going to do this work. When that's done, I'm going to put that to the side and do something else. So if you're that kind of person, make sure you're blocking out time in your calendar to really get that work done. And that, for some people, will help with the stress as well, because you know that you've got this amount of time to do it, and you're not thinking, oh God, I've got 20 different things, I'm going to jump between all 20 of them. Get you focused on one task.
Yeah.
One other big thing I'd say actually as well is, for me, I got asked to do a lot of stuff that, you know, I was happy to do, but it kind of wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do. So like you were saying before with the weird requests, I'd get stuff like, you know, I found a rare volleyball. Can we put that on social media? And I'm like, no, we can't. We're not doing this. And I'm spending so much time trying to argue the case, or so many times trying to just say, maybe we shouldn't do this, maybe we shouldn't do that. You need your own projects. You need your own little projects to do. So, for instance, in my last job, I launched their TikTok account, and I worked on videos for that. And that brought me so much joy because it was so fun to do. And I was getting results as well. And it was kind of my personal project. So make sure you have that. Yeah, exactly.
That's good advice.
Yeah, just have those personal projects that really make you feel happy. Really try and get them in where you can.
That's great advice. That has been the way that I got through as a social media manager, and the way that I ran my business as well, really. Of
brilliant
things you have to do, or things that you just can't be bothered to not do, if you know what I mean. You don't want to fight the fight. But you always got to have something that does make you go, oh, I love this. And, you know, if you're in an organization, so I know that a lot of social media managers are freelance, but those who are kind of in a corporate institution of whatever kind, sometimes that does have to be under the radar. You do have to pick up a project and kind of not ask permission, and kind of not get many people, like something like TikTok. If you're working in, like, I don't know, an NHS organization or something, you're better off just doing it and not telling anyone about it, because as soon as the senior managers get a hold of it, they'll want to be TikTok in their annual report or something.
I know that exact situation. When my last job, when the senior member found out about TikTok, they got really excited about it, which on the face of it sounds good, because it's like, you know, I've got this back and all that, but then they start wanting to be like, oh, we're putting this on, we're putting this on, we're putting this on, and it was videos that really wasn't suitable, and it was stuff that was kind of different. So sometimes you kind of do need to try and have it as under the radar as possible, so that you have as much creative control over it as possible.
Yeah, it brings a standard up, doesn't it? But also it makes you feel good, because you're not constantly fighting someone what shouldn't be on there.
Exactly.
Brilliant. I love that advice, and I feel like we work in very similar ways from the advice you've given as well, because I'm, you know, like, I use Focusmate. I don't know if you've come across this, but Focusmate is like, you get on basically like a Zoom call with some stranger, usually from America, and you say, I'm going to work on, I don't know, writing this press release, and they'll say, I'm going to write and then we just turn the mute off, and you have to solidly focus for 15 minutes and do that piece of work. And without that level of accountability that someone's literally looking at you on a camera, I can never get it done.
That's amazing. I've never heard that before. That's amazing. Like, that's my biggest thing is, like, I love working from home, but at the same time, I get so distracted. I'm like, you know, I'm like, oh, you know, I've been working for 15 minutes. I'm going to go do the dishes now. I'm going to clean up. I'm going to put some telly on or something like that. And I tend to get distracted with that. So kind of having somebody watching me, as creepy as it sounds, would honestly like help me out so much.
You're gonna go. It's free. I think you can have like 3 a week, 3 of these 50-minute sessions a week. But
Brilliant.
I love it because I'm exactly the same. I could sit with the cats and the fridge downstairs, and all the things that distract me, and I'd get less done in a whole day than I will in one of these like super focused 50-minute sessions.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worth a plug.
Amazing.
But thank you so much. I've absolutely loved to hear all of your advice and your experiences. If people want to find you and commission you for some amazing freelance work, where will they find you? How can they get in touch?
So I'm on Twitter and Instagram. My username is @AlexLDuffy. I've got a website, alexlduffy.com. They can email me on info@alexlduffy.com, or I'm on TikTok as well with @AlexLewisDuffy. So, I mean, my TikTok's more just like silly stuff, but you'd be surprised. I've had a couple of people like message me on there asking for stuff. So, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point, isn't it? It's not going to be silly stuff there. It would be weird if it wasn't silly.
Well, exactly. It's like 90% cats as well, so it's all good.
Can you think of a particular TikTok that you constantly revisit because it's just so funny or so entertaining? I can think of I love. I just thought I'll end on this.
I've got so many that I absolutely love, and suddenly my mind's just gone completely blank on it. I'm like, oh my god, I've got every single TikTok I've ever. I know, exactly. I love character ones, where people like do sketches of certain characters and all that. So I love. I'm trying to think of an example now. So my mind is literally gone completely.
Well, I tell you what. I'll tell you my favourite one.
Go on.
And then if you can think of yours while I'm telling you mine, but like the stuff on there that is just so like related to nothing, but it just makes me laugh. So there is someone singing, and I don't know who this bloke is that's singing, but someone's used the bit of, like, loads of people use this bit of music to film seagulls, and it's somebody singing to the tune of 1,000 miles, I think, or 10,000 miles. I can't think of the name of the artist, but it basically making my way downtown, walking fast, I'm a seagull, go fuck yourself, diddly diddly doo. It's just stuck in my head. It makes me laugh. I can't stop listening to it and thinking about it.
Oh, that's amazing. I've just thought ones that I love. So like I say, like sketch ones. There's this woman who does she does TikToks, but in the style of like a she does in the style of like kids sitcoms, stuff like That's So Rave and Saved by the Bell and stuff like that. So she plays all the characters herself, and she just does like, it's really creative because she does like different costumes for each one. So for one, she might put a blanket on her head and she's a different character now, or she might put a hoodie on and she's a different character, and she does like all the typical tropes. Like you've got the laugh track in the background, and you've got the typical stories like the one where someone gets amnesia, or the body swap story and stuff like that. And it's just so silly, and it's like so self-referential as well. I just love it.
I love that. Right, on that note, I will say a massive thank you for taking part in this. And you've also got, I think, a blog post that we're going to share in the group as well, that
yes,
give even more of your insights and wisdom in. And I hope to meet you in real life one day. Once it's all normal again, which it won't ever be, will it? But hopefully we'll be in a room together at some point and I can do a proper handshake.
Exactly. It'll be wonderful. It'll be, I've met so many people online the last few months, and there's so many that I'd love to meet, and you're definitely one of them. You've been an absolute inspiration. So
and so have you as well. And I just think you're so talented and you do amazing work. So very happy to have you on this weird little show thing that we're doing for Social Media Managers Day. But thank you very much.
That's no problem at all. No problem at all.